Good afternoon and welcome to the Flexible Space Association's Workspace Wisdom webinar. This is the latest in what's now quite a long series of webinars that are designed to look at issues of impacting and helping with the running of flexible workspace. And today we're going to be looking at how technology is shaping workspace in a variety of ways. And we're joined by Steve Todd, who's the Strategic Channel Director at Vending, and Dan Drogman, who's CEO of Smart Spaces, and both companies are members of the Flexible Space Association. So each of them are going to do a short presentation just about what their business does, just to provide some context to how technology is influencing workspace. And then we're going to come back and I've got some questions for them, but if anybody wants to add any questions into the chat box, we can pick those up as well. So, Dan, you're going to go first with your presentation. And
great. Thanks, Jane. Excellent. So my business is called Smart Spaces. We're a smart building operating system deployed across 100 million square feet in 30 countries. The business itself takes all of the interactions an employee has with their workplace and wraps them up into a single platform and then measures their engagement. Some of our clients include Grosvenor, which also includes their flexible offices. This also includes Heinz, Landsec, GPE, amongst the occupiers themselves, like Palo Alto and KPMG. And our business is 50% landlord or flex operator, and 50% the occupiers of these office developments. Some smart building projects for references. So Heinz Workplace, which is their European HQ, works on our software, but we're also deployed across their UK portfolio. There is 22 Bishopsgate, which is the largest skyscraper in the city, and actually it's the tallest you can stand in mainland Europe. There's Toronto 22, which is in Poland, Paddington Square, which is interesting because it's both a retail and leisure destination alongside a 350,000 square foot office. We have the Landsec experience, which is deployed across their portfolio, which is around 5.5 million square feet. We have International Place, 1.8 million square feet, which is the home to KKR, amongst some other big brands in the US. The Shard, which is a very interesting project because that was a retrofit project rather than a new build. And then lastly but not least, Ruiz Picasso, which is Merlin's trophy asset in Spain.
Mobile access is just part of the digital expectations of all generations now, whether that's through your smartphone or through your smartwatch. Having that ability just to come in and out of the building is fantastic. I think that's a real game changer. In a world where everyone's fighting to encourage employees back to the office, giving them an extra reason to come is no bad thing.
It's a lot of feedback that we've been getting from our tenants and the brokerage community as well. Smart Spaces has a great reputation, and whenever I'm touring prospective tenants, they're definitely excited to hear about the implementation of Smart Spaces and coming to International Place.
So you just see from that video that one of the first interactions with Smart Spaces for one of our clients is the mobile access. So we facilitate Apple Wallet and Google Wallet access to the office, and that's the first engagement a user has with the office. Once they've got the engagement through the mobile access, our app, which is branded for the occupier, so the Workspace app, which is the screenshot we had at the start of the presentation, is on the user's phone. They can then use other features. And one of the features we're most excited about is our interaction with Vending Sense, where we now show you the availability of the items within the vending, but also give you the ability to pay on account utilizing your Workspace app. Thank you so much for watching that short video, and hopefully that gives you some insight into what we're going to speak about today.
You're on mute, Jane.
Right, we're running this webinar in a different way to usual, so I'm not going to do so well with this. Right, there's your presentation, Steve. So I shall hand over to you to take that through us, and we'll come back with some questions after that.
Thank you, Jane, and yeah, thank you, Dan, for that intro as well. Very interesting. So yes, as Jane alluded to, I'm proposing just to give you a little bit of an insight to the Vending Sense business. It really acts as a foundation for some of the Q&A sessions we have a little bit later. So it will be very brief. A little bit of background myself. I've been in the technology space my sins for over 40 years. Obviously today representing my son's business, Vending Sense. I'd like to think that I can give you some context of both the technology side and obviously the vending side that we're going to walk through. The Vending Sense business has been around 10 years and it's acted from day one to be a very disruptive organization in a very competitive marketplace. What we mean by disruption is we're focused as a business in the refreshment space around helping companies around employee well-being and customer well-being, changing culture and driving sustainability and automation through the value proposition. And again, this will come out a little bit later through the Q&A. The business also is the connection we have with smart spaces is very important as part of this kind of IoT message. And we are now in this sector talking far more to IT businesses and IT people within most organizations, as what was the old facilities management area is now very much still run by facilities, but involves IT. And you can see that both the coffee, the vending and the water solutions are now sitting on the same networks as the rest of the technology in the workspace. The business is very outcome focused. As you'll hear a little bit later, we're not into product. We're very outcome orientated. It's about enhancing well-being of employees, boosting engagement with customers. And also as part of that comes the streamlining of process and improved revenue. And again, that will come out a little bit more, but it's all about enhancing that business performance throughout the cycle. The services that we deliver are around coffee, departmental, water systems and vending, and more micro markets that you see in this image at the back. But these are the enablers for us to drive that outcome-based messaging that we talked about improving well-being and driving sustainability and automation as much as we can within the organizations. One of the things that's really intrigued me by being involved in the Vending Sense business the last year is the amount of predictive service they have. And this is where there's a bit of a game changer in the sector. It's very online dashboard orientated. It's using AI integration for replenishment management. And it really provides true visibility of all aspects of the service. And as Dan alluded to, the connection we now have is allowing people to actually get visual views of what's available in vending, in what floors certain coffee configurations are to meet their individual demands. As a business, we're very strong in sustainability. Just one slide that I picked out. But for example, we are converting 6 bags of coffee that organisations buy, and on that basis, allowing them to plant a tree, I should say, on their behalf, and that can be converted into other aspects of vending. So that could be crisps, Mars bars. But again, it's about our ESG message is about driving something that is true value to customers. It's not about what's right for Vending Sense. And there are other aspects of that as well. So in summary, it's a very disruptive business model. It's proven with lots of strong case studies in the London and across the UK. It's agnostic, it's outcome focused, and it's got a proven support model with some great case studies, which we can open up and talk about a little bit later. So that's enough from me. Back to Jane.
Okay, thank you. So you've covered sort of a broad picture of the sort of things you can do with technology, and I think we're seeing that the way that people experience workplaces has changed dramatically. I think we came out of the pandemic, and everyone thought we were never going to go back to an office again, and then companies did want their staff back in offices, so that started to evolve a bit more into what they were going to experience there, and that's particularly been the case in flexible and shared workspace. So how do each of you see technology shaping that day-to-day experience for tenants and employees? I think we'll go to Dan first.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jane. I would say that the most important thing is that you need to be connected to the users of your space, so the tenant, the occupier, the employee, whichever term you wish to use, all of the time, because you need to continually attract them back to the office and to engage with what your offer is. And that starts with having a connection, typically through a workplace app, where you can communicate the events that are happening in the space, you can facilitate the access, you can allow the booking of the space. And so I think that is the biggest thing post-pandemic, is where people are working for a hybrid setup. They need to know when they can get resourced, when they can meet a colleague, and really provide that level of engagement when they're outside the office.
Steve?
Yes, again, I think the importance is very similar. It's about having the full visibility of all aspects of the service. In many ways, one of the things that we, if you like, preach to our marketplace is about looking at the art of the possible. And typically coffee and vending is a kind of a tick box exercise. And I feel that people that actually really start to think about vending and coffee and refreshments generally across the business, from a well-being, from an employee well-being, how can we use it to attract, retain the best people in the marketplace and really create that collaborative environment? So they're the areas that I feel are vital.
And are there areas that are changing in terms of what clients are asking for, that are driving how you're innovating what you're doing?
I think that, especially the most interesting thing we've found, our business is called Smart Spaces, but what we keep getting asked from our clients is largely surrounding catering. So one of the features that's been fleshed out the most this year is our catering function. And that relates to, I think, people coming to the office, wanting to be able to engage with their colleagues and have something fun. The fun element typically is the lunchtime element. But also for meetings, I think with the rise of AI, people are already wanting to have more face-to-face meetings, and have the benefit of real communication, where you can be guaranteed that you haven't got an AI bot on the other side of the call. And again, if you're going to have a client come to the office, they're making the effort to travel in, it comes back to catering. And I think that's why our integration with Vending Sense has taken off so much, is because people want to know what's available and don't want to pack lunch where they don't need to. Yeah.
Anything more to add to that, Steve, or has that summed it up?
No, I think I'd add a little bit to it. One of the things that we're seeing a lot of, especially in the London area, as people build more kind of theatres or collaboration spaces, as they're called, or social hubs, is that kind of 24/7 self-serve, unattended environments. People are looking to, obviously real estate costs are high. If they have old canteens that are underutilized, 22 to 30% most canteens, well, that's a high cost. And we're actually seeing a lot of take up of micro markets in replacing kitchens, or actually sitting aside traditional canteens within our customer base.
So moving on from that, well-being has become central to many workplaces. I think it's something that those going to work often place a higher value on. How are your businesses helping operators and occupiers build well-being into what they're doing as part of daily life, and hopefully making it easy?
I think the most important one is what I would call anxiety reduction or trying to eliminate anxiety. And I think that's around being guaranteed you're going to have a comfortable space to work when you arrive at the office. So whether you're understanding what the office density is, whether you have the mobile access pass to access the office, so you're going to have an easy way in. Will your client be able to access the office? Can you cycle to the office? Can you shower at the office? And I think people can plan their journey ahead of time and have confidence that when they get there, the tech will work and they're up and running really quickly, so they're productive. It eliminates that anxiety. And I think the anxiety is probably the biggest thing. I think in addition to that, it's how healthy the working environment is. I think when you have the luxury of working at home, you're in charge of your own hygiene, you're in charge of your own air quality, especially if you live in a suburb and you can open your windows. So the office really has to evidence how healthy it is. And that could be the selection of fruit available in vending sense. That could be the air quality in a meeting room that you're monitoring and pumping fresh air into. It could be the lighting settings. It could be a whole host of elements to do with just demonstrating that the office is a worthwhile journey.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, add to that, I think, creating or blending of smart technology with hospitality thinking to create spaces that really drive well-being and engagement. As I said earlier, lots of this collaboration, social hubs, well-being of staff is allowing them to make sure they're fueled with the right type of food throughout the day. It's never been more important, and it's interesting from someone that's come from technology for so many years. I never realised how important fueling of staff is in any given day, and that's probably more important than the technology they integrate with. So actually, there is an opportunity for organisations to really drive well-being through their investments in refreshments. Obviously, I'm a great believer of that. I genuinely do believe it from a well-being point of view.
And are you seeing a change in what sort of food and drink items people are wanting? And I presume data can play a part in being able to understand that better. I think we've probably all got, well, many of us will have quite a fixed view of what might be in a vending machine, and I'm guessing that's evolving rapidly.
Most definitely. So we're actually all different types of nutrition, drinks and snacks, and literally we do surveys with all our clients before the employees to work out what it is they want in the vending machines, and it's driving people back to the office. If they want Caesar salads, poke bowls, chili con carnes, certain types of coffee, they want coconut milk, soya milk. This makes the difference. And if people have got a reason to come back to the office and they can feel that they're engaging with people, they can collaborate with individuals, it goes a long, long way. And I think the relationship now with smart spaces is allowing us to add even more value to that experience.
And Dan, it's all very well these things being available, but I guess part of the challenge is making it really clear to people that can use the space that what sort of amenities are available to them, and if that is done digitally. Are you seeing examples of how that's happening?
Yes, certainly. I think that one of the things we can do is time the push notifications. So they'll be either the night before, the morning before you leave to go to the office, providing access to the menus. One of the really, really popular things is giving your employer the ability to give you credit. And if you give someone credit to purchase their lunch in the office, it's actually non-taxable up to £8. So you can give them £8 in their pocket, and that's all going directly to your employee. And that's really important with the younger workforce to attract them to the office when they've got travel costs. So that's really important. I think the next thing is, we've definitely seen on our analytics, the healthy options are the most popular options, which is quite interesting because I can't say I go for the healthy option anytime. And that's no joke. But seriously, we see, and the first area of our catering part of the building we was working on with a client, we had to monitor the queue lengths, was for the build your own salad. And that was because they were getting complaints that the queue times are too long, and they were leaving the office development to go to a nearby Pret instead. And so we monitored the queue length, showed the queue length on the app, and also done a push notification when it reduced in time or increased in time, and that meant people timed it better. And actually what ended up happening is we've done a Deliveroo style order functionality because it helped eliminate the queue. So it goes to show people are willing to stay in the workplace to eat and have their lunch if you've got a good offer.
Yes, I guess the changing situation now is that people kind of want things to come to them a bit, don't they? And we're used to that, those delivery type options. So flexible offices in particular are about community and having a shared culture, but often across different businesses that are using one space. Is there other ways that technology can enhance that connection, and it's not just a case of sort of replacing that with automation?
Yes, certainly. I think the most powerful thing we've had this year is the implementation of what we call peer arrival notification. So that means that you can opt in to with other people in your workplace. They don't necessarily need to work for the same company because it's permissions based. So if you're a workplace provider with your workplace app, branded app, which is your app, you can have a peer arrival notification where I can say, when Jane arrives at the office, notify me that they're there. And it's completely opt-in, opt-out. And so if you want to be very private and you don't want people to know you're in the office that day, you have ignore. But then those that you really get on well with and you want them to know you're there because it's either going to enhance your day, because it's a friend you want to catch up with, or it's your designer and you need to go through a design brief. And we were we're probably pessimistic at the beginning of the year when we deployed this function, thinking we're just going to get a whole host of ignores. And we didn't. It was quite the opposite. It was quite interesting to see that people in a hybrid working pattern want to make the most of the office. They don't want to go to the office to find out the colleague's not there. So the peer arrival has been something that's really blown our minds, actually. And again, helps community because you're connecting with the others that you want to connect with.
Yeah, I suppose we're all getting used to that sort of push notifications and things. My local council's just introduced an app to tell us which bins to put out when on a push notification. I need that. I'm always looking at my neighbours to work out what's the right bins. Yeah, technology can solve that problem. Steve, anything on that? On that?
I think Dan's covered most of it. One thing I'd also add is a real life example of a large lawyer in the city. I won't name them for obvious reasons, but they. The implementation we've just been through recently, they allow the wayfinding technology that we deploy allows them to actually find out what coffee machines on what floors have the coconut milk. And it just makes life so much easier for employees. And that's really driving that level of engagement. And more importantly for the lawyer, it costs them a lot less.
We should really touch on that. Again, one of the requests we get is wayfinding. I'm like, surely you do not need wayfinding in your office to find your desk, to find your meeting room. All right, maybe on the largest scale offices, that could be. And so again, we developed that, put it into the app for our client, and it was amazing how much uptake it got. And it comes back to that thing I said at the beginning, which is this reduction of anxiety. It is, I need to get on a Teams call at 9 o'clock Monday. I'm not from the UK, I'm from the US office. I need to be productive. I'm planning my trip before I get there, and then when I get there, I don't need to talk to anyone. If anyone's not around to show me my way, I can find my own way. Gives me independence, gives me peace of mind. And so, wayfinding is definitely a technology that I think you could consider even on a smaller development of, say, 25,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And I think, certainly Steve did it, you probably did as well, Dan, referred to AI in your presentations, and it's certainly everyone's talking about AI and concerns about it, but also the benefits that it can deliver. And it's particularly talked about in our industry in the future of smart workspaces. But there is a fine line between helpful automation and technology that's just being used because it's possible to do and it might be seen as a bit of a gimmick. How do you make sure that innovation remains really purposeful and delivering things?
It has to come down to user experience, frictionless. Anything we can do in the background that doesn't require the user to do anything is where it's at. And I think, you see on the video at the beginning of the presentation that someone was badging in with their Apple Wallet pass. That can check you into your desk. So you haven't got to go up to the QR code on your desk and check in. You haven't got to rely on a sensor. And so doing things in the background. And we do believe that in the future, you're going to find that the app will disappear. It might be your glasses, it might be a wearable, it might be an earpiece, and just more things will happen in the background, and it will be more frictionless. And so, I think that's definitely what I think is going to improve the experience.
And Steve, on that?
Yeah, I concur with that. I think that the labour-intensive elements of our delivery are the things that AI is having the biggest impact on. So the user experience is actually that as a business, we're not about a product company, we're an outcome and experience company. And that means that you need to drive. AI can't replace the interaction of a person with a vending or a coffee machine, but it can have a massive impact on our delivery of our service, and we can pass that saving on to our client base.
And to add to that, I think if I was a workplace provider, one of the things I'd be most excited about AI is it doesn't require that you train your members. If someone wants to book a room, sometimes you still have to show them on your portal how they go to the portal page, how they log in. If you could provide a plug-in to their native AI, which they use already, Perplexity, OpenAI, they can book a desk or book a meeting room through the text prompt or through audio. They haven't had to have training. The best thing about AI for managing a workplace as a customer is that I don't need to work out I don't have to be good at technology. I just need to be good at asking a question. And so it makes it more accessible, easier to use. So I think that's probably the biggest positive that we've seen today.
Yeah. Not technology for technology's sake, eh?
Yeah, really, really user-friendly at the heart of it. So sustainability, I think, well, as in many industries, it's certainly a key area for the flexible workspace industry. We're running our awards at the moment, and we have a category in ESG, and we've had a high number of entries in there, many of them relating to sustainability issues. So what part do smart technologies and connected services have to play in helping operators make those more sustainable, greener choices?
Yeah, certainly. I think what's possible now is how granular you can configure an office floor plate. When you're in the design phase of design your office or retrofit, can break down the individual fan coil units and lights and energy meters into suites of 2-person, 1-person, up to 50 people. And we can give control over that space, monitoring over that space. And then when the last person leaves, we power that space down. Before they arrive, we can get it to the right temperature. So they're not just sustainable, they're comfortable. And I think that was a lot more challenging historically. You could power maybe a full floor plate, at best maybe half a floor plate. Well, that provider in that space, if half their employees have gone home lunchtime on a Friday, they're still paying the energy costs for that space until the time clock BMS shuts off at 6 p.m. or the time clock on the HVAC. So granularity is now possible, and enabling that through a technology platform shows you if it's being used, if it's occupied and it's being powered when it's not occupied, gives you the ability to remotely shut it down, so you don't need to be there to make the energy savings, but also granular energy, which actually a lot of your occupiers are going to need in order to report. We're going through B Corp at the moment, and we have to use our platform to show to B Corp how sustainable they are. Well, if you have that per suite, you're helping your customers do the same thing.
And Steve, anything on that?
Yeah, again, I did touch on it, sort of the ESG messaging in Vending sense in the introduction, but yeah, it's a very important part of our business. But as I said, everything that we're doing is focused on what value they bring to the customer, because what's the point of it if it doesn't? So it's anything from the types of cups we're using. There's a load of ESG messaging that we probably don't have time to cover in this session, but obviously, if anybody would like to understand a little bit more about it, I'm happy to do that at any given time.
Okay, well, thank you. Just as a final question, if you look ahead, let's take 5 years, what does the ideal flexible workspace experience look like, and how do you see your businesses contributing to that?
Yeah, certainly I feel that the app and the web portal will disappear into the background. I think you'll be using your agent to do this for you. I think you probably won't even need to book the space yourself. Your calendar will be driven by the communication you're having with your customers and peers. And so it will become more frictionless in the background. And what I really hope for is that we still don't take 10 minutes to set AV up at the start of a meeting. Because that's the one thing that, even in this day and age, surprises me, that I lose 10 minutes of every meeting trying to configure the AV.
Mm.
I think it's getting better. Just getting better, but
Yeah,
yes.
20 minutes to 10 minutes.
yeah. And Steve?
Yeah, I think that's outside my sort of role with Vending Sense. I do think that, you know, post-COVID, things, obviously we all know things have changed a lot, but I genuinely believe that I'm seeing it, the customers that we're talking to, that the offices are going to get busier, and therefore the technology and the type of environments we build need to be, you know, well-being and culture have got to be at the heart of it, because they will attract the right people and they retain the right people in the business. And we all know people are the best things about any organization, right? So looking after people, building refreshments by really thinking about well-being rather than just being a byproduct like it has been over the years. That's the opportunity, I think, for Vending Sense, for our customer base.
Okay, well, thank you very much, both of you. That's been sort of insightful in thinking about, well, what's possible now, but also what might be possible in the future for Flexible Workspace. So we will make this recording available on our YouTube channel for anyone that's watching, wants to catch up on anything or share it with colleagues. And we haven't got any further Workspace Wisdom webinars scheduled for the remainder of the year, but in the new year, we'll be back on again with further ones in the programme. So thank you very much, Dan and Steve, for your time this afternoon, and have a good rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.